So back when I first started making videos almost 2 years ago now, the first one that got some attention was my ranking of all of the standalone special ninjutsu in Shinobi Striker. Since then though, a lot has changed. We've had multiple patches that shifted how good certain jutsu are, and the total number of them has nearly doubled. There are now exactly 10 of these unique techniques in the game. So in today's video we're going to rank every single one of them from worst to best, breaking down what each jutsu does well and where it falls short. By the end you should have a clear idea of which ones are worth getting. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, let's kick things off with wood style wood golem jutsu, coming at the very bottom of our list. And before anyone gets mad, let me just say this. None of these standalone jutsus are actually bad. They're all good in their own right, but something does have to take the last place, and for me, that spot goes to this one. So, what exactly does this jutsu do? Wood style wood golem jutsu summons a massive wooden golem that slams the ground, dealing damage to any targets caught in the impact. After that initial hit, the user temporarily equips a wood dragon on their back, replacing their normal attacks with special wood style based projectiles. On paper, this sounds pretty good, and honestly, it kind of is. The slam at the start is great because it guarantees you some value right away, and you don't have to worry about the timer of the ultimate at all. Plus, once you're actually in the transformation form, your basic and strong attacks actually become really solid ranged options, giving you more reach than most attack class jutsu usually allow. So then, why is it last? Well, it mainly comes down to the competition. It's a transformation ultimate in the attack class, and that class is stacked when it comes to those. When you've got transformation ultimates like Karma Progression, Kurama Link Mode, or Baryon Mode to name a few, it's hard for something like the wood golem jutsu to really stand out. Those other ultimates just do everything a bit better. They're simply much more meta viable, and the wood golem jutsu just doesn't offer anything that those secret techniques don't. With that said, it's still a fun jutsu to use. Maybe not the most meta viable, but still worth a try. Next up, we've got One-Fingered Thrust of Hell, a lighting style jutsu that turns your finger into a spear of chakra that sends you flying straight forward your target at high speed. It's basically a high velocity charge attack that lets you close the distance and punch through an opponent's defenses in a single hit. So, in practice, this basically works as a lightning infused charge, a super fast launch that lets you close the distance and deal solid damage, even on targets that are pretty far away. It's one of those techniques that feel really nice when you actually hit it. You just blink across the map and flatten whoever's unlucky enough to be standing in your way. But there is kind of a catch, and a pretty big one at that. This jutsu has virtually no tracking. Like for real, if your opponent so much as slides to the side, you're probably going to miss. And that lack of tracking really limits how consistent it can be. That being said, there are a few nice upsides. The jutsu gives you super armor during the charge, which means you can power through attacks and not get interrupted while lunging in. Plus, you can decide for how long you want to charge it, which adds a layer of flexibility depending on the situation. You can go in for a quick burst when you're in close range, or hold it longer to surprise someone from afar. Overall, One-Fingered Thrust of Hell is one of those moves that looks and feels really fun when it lands, but it's a little bit too unreliable to be considered a top tier pick. Up next, we've got Magnet Style Gold Dust Great Burial. It creates a massive wave of gold dust that with an additional input you send rolling ahead, dealing continuous damage before finally collapsing at the end for one last big hit. The biggest strength of this jutsu, and what really sets it apart, is that it cannot be substituted out of. Once an opponent gets caught in it, they're stuck in for the full ride, taking continuous damage while helplessly tumbling along. It's not just great for dishing out damage, but also completely taking enemies out for the fight for a few seconds, giving your team time to reposition or secure an objective. Of course, it's not perfect. The biggest downside is that the gold dust collapses the second it touches a wall or any other obstacle, which makes it a lot less effective on cluttered maps or uneven terrain. Realistically, you'll get the best use out of this on flat open maps like the Chunin Exam Arena, where it can roll freely and cause maximum chaos. Still, even with that limitation, Gold Dust Great Burials is one of the more entertaining jutsus in the game to use. I don't know, there's just something kinda hilarious about watching your opponents get repeatedly rolled over by a giant wall of sand while you just kinda stand there and enjoy the view. Up next, we've got Host Transformation Two Tails, the first entry from the Tailed Beast category. When activated, your character taps into the power of the Two Tails, becoming engulfed in blue flames as you transform into the beast before launching high into the air and slamming down with an explosive fire attack. This move works great as an AoE attack, letting you hit multiple enemies clustered together whilst also giving you some breathing room. Since you teleport above your target before slamming down, it's surprisingly useful for escaping bad situations too, and you can deal big damage, plus at the end you flip out as well. The only real downside is the limited range and longer cooldown, sitting in at around 19 seconds. You'll need to be relatively close to your target to land it consistently, so positioning is key. Next up, we've got Host Transformation Free Tails. When activated, you transform into the Free Tails, spin around as the beast, and create a massive shockwave that blasts enemies away from you. Anyone caught near the center of the explosion takes significantly more damage, making this one of the better close-range burst options among the Tailed Beast jutsu. It's not just a strong damage dealer, it's also a good crowd control tool. The shockwave launches enemies back a great distance, which makes it perfect for disrupting teamfights or clearing objectives. If you're defending a base or trying to stop someone from capturing a flag, this jutsu can completely reset the fight in your favor. The closer your enemies are to the center, the harder they are punished, which means proper timing and positioning can make the difference between a simple knockback and a full-on KO. Host Transformation Free Tails might not be the flashiest move in the game, but it's a really multi-purpose one, delivering both raw power and great utility in one clean, explosive package. Next up, we have Atomic Dismantling Jutsu. This jutsu lets you unleash a focused pillar of energy that deals damage to anyone it touches. You can also briefly aim the beam with your control stick once you use the jutsu. It has recently got a needed damage buff, meaning that it's now much more usable, as before it dealt close to basically no damage. It's a great technique for when you have a bunch of enemies lined up and you want to damage all of them in one single hit. It also comes with a 12-second cooldown, making it one of the quicker high damage options jutsus in the game. And on top of that, it can pierce through defenses like Susanoo armor or Sand Shield, which instantly gives it extra value against some of the most annoying defensive setups. Overall, Atomic Dismantling Jutsu has evolved into a good offensive tool for heal types, quick, powerful, and capable of shredding through both enemies and barriers alike. Now, we've got Host Transformation 6 Tails, and honestly, this is one of the most underrated ultimates in the entire range class. When activated, you transform into the six-tailed beast and start attacking with explosive bubbles. You first fire out a massive purple bubble that explodes upon contact, dealing big AoE damage, and even after that initial hit, smaller follow-up bubbles continue to chase nearby opponents. What makes this technique shine is how reliable it is compared to other fast-charging ultimates in this class. It charges very quickly. It's in the category of ultimates that basically charge the fastest. Yet, it's still capable of picking up multiple kills if timed right. If you drop it into a crowded fight or around an objective, the big bubble explosion can instantly swing the momentum of the match. And the lingering smaller bubbles help finish off anyone who tries to escape. It's like genuinely slept on, as pulling off this move like 3 times during a match can do some serious lifting in terms of helping you win the game. Next up, we've got Flying Rajin Slice. This move has you throw out a kunai marked with the Flying Rajin seal, teleport to your target in an instant, and follow up with a precise high-speed slash. What makes it stand out though is that it deals extra damage if the enemy isn't locked onto you, which pushes you to use it strategically, approaching from an angle or behind to get the most out of it. It is also one of the fastest jutsus in the game, with a teleport that makes you completely invincible for a brief moment. That in and of itself gives you a lot of flexibility. You can use this jutsu to initiate combat, break out of combos, or quickly close the gap on enemies trying to run away. And since the animation is super quick, it's hard for opponents to react once you commit, and even if it doesn't finish them off, it usually puts you in a strong position to follow up with basic attacks. It's fast and fits naturally into most builds without needing a specific setup. Overall, Flying Rajin Slice is a straightforward but highly effective move that rewards timing, positioning rather than flashy execution. At the penultimate position, we have Steam Imp, which is easily one of the strongest ultimates in the game when it comes to survival battle. When activated, it summons up to 4 clones that relentlessly track down nearby enemies and explode into a cloud of steam when they get close. Each explosion deals serious damage, and because the clones move one after another, it's incredibly hard for enemies to escape the chain. It's basically like 4 slightly smaller C4 Karuras that chase the enemies, so it's kinda hard to not see how good it is. What really makes this jutsu shine though is how effective it is in smaller open maps, particularly the Chunin Exam Arena, where the clones can easily find and corner opponents. In survival exercise, this ultimate can often decide the entire match by itself, as it can rack up multiple kills in a single use. And since it charges fairly quickly, you can sometimes use it even more than once in a game. That said, the biggest drawback is how it performs on larger, more uneven maps, where the clones can get caught on obstacles or lose track of enemies. You also take a hit to your defense and movement speed while it's active, so you need to be smart about positioning. But if you use it in the right environment, Steam Imp is one of the most devastating tools in the entire game. The kind of ultimate that can wipe out an entire lobby in seconds. And taking the number 1 spot, maybe a bit unexpectedly, is Host Transformation 7 Tails. When activated, you release the 7 Tails chakra, summoning a massive tornado that sweeps around and damages everything in its path. The tornado itself deals okay damage, but the real value of this ultimate comes right after it's used. Once the first activation is over, it leaves behind a soothing wind that boosts your speed and overall performance of both you and your allies. On top of that, every time you or your teammates secure a knockout when the wind is active, its duration gets extended further. The crazy part about this jutsu is how many times you can use it in a single game. The buff it gives you accelerates your secret technique gauge gain, meaning that with good momentum you can realistically activate this ultimate 3 or even 4 times during a single match. The stat boost it provides is also no joke either. You and your teammates become noticeably faster, your cooldown shrink, and you can chase down enemies with ease. Even in survival exercise where you're on your own with no allies, the tornado damage combined with the movement and cooldown buffs make it extremely strong. But well, in team modes, it's super broken. Your whole squad turns into an unstoppable wave of speed and pressure. It's one of those ultimates that doesn't rely on raw damage but instead completely changes the flow of the battle. And that's exactly what makes Host Transformation 7 Tails one of the most powerful and valuable ultimates in the entire game for the heal class, and also the reason I put it at number 1 on this list. And that's all of the special ninjutsu ranked. As I mentioned at the start, none of them are a total waste of money. And at the very worst, I'd say some of them might be a bit mid, but not unusable. With that said, let me know in the comments what you thought of my ranking and what you don't or do agree with. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!